Co-op Mode. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. This is round 118, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra. Just broke my elliptical. I guess my wife thinks I'm the most studly man in the world because she was surprised that that machine stood up to my masculinity. So $300 in a couple of weeks, and I'll be back on the elliptical. Wow. Joined by Mark, the Canadian Carabin.
How you doing? I haven't broken any gym equipment recently. Thor, that's, impressive. Good stuff.
And if you're watching on YouTube, I just flashed some skin. So that's, it's not OnlyFans, but it's for our OnlyFans. So check that out when you get a chance on YouTube. Joined by one of our good friends who often only has 1 hour to make one decision, and that is Chris Johns from 1 Hour, One Decision. And, basically a purveyor of a notebook for taking notes on your games. Chris, thanks for joining.
Well, thanks for having me. And I think this is like fairly recent. We just did a show as well, right? On your other show.
We talked about The Flash.
And The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Nice. Hopefully this goes better than Flash's box office.
Yes, we could hope so.
Yes. Well, very, very good. Chris, you've been on the show. So I think you know how this goes. Surprisingly, you came back, which, we're always surprised. You know what we get up to. And, I trap everyone with some of the antics I ensue. So but people we have entranced, Mark, are our Patreons. So, we got to give them props. So go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Well, I'm going to try not to screw this up because did I ever screw it up on Holocron last week? So I'm going to thank our best bud, Jamie Prinky. I'm going to thank our BFF tier, Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias, as well as Missy Merchant and Andy Milliken. Ha-ha!
Woohoo! Bonus points.
Well done.
Without screwing up a last name or a first name or both this time. Ha-ha! Good for me. If you're interested in the Patreon stuff that we're doing, you can get a free trial by heading over to patreon.com/secretfriendsunite and signing up for a 7-day free trial so you can check out all the shows and all the goodness and all the stuff that's hiding there behind Patreon. We are slowly releasing some of it, not all of it, but some of it to like the normal feeds, but you definitely get it first on Patreon, and some stuff's a Patreon exclusive. So check it all out. My wife and I are planning on launching a new show very, very soon, and that's going to be really fun. I described it all on Holocron Chronicles last week. It has to do with movies and ratings, specifically like PG-13 ratings, and allowing a certain number of curse words and where we'd put them for maximum hilarity and impact. So I think it's going to be a good show. She's excited about it, which is, it's fun to have her excited about like podcasting and doing something like that. We're still trying to figure out how to do that. So if any of the Patreon listeners or any other listeners have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. I was thinking about potentially opening it up to a Discord channel, doing an audio only show, and having as many people jump in as possible at the start of the recording or whatever, and just coming in and saying like, here's where I think the F word should go in Lord of the Rings. And and just going from there and having like a big round table discussion with the community. So if you think that's a good idea, or if you think I should have it more structured, let me know, because we're still in the planning stages, but it's also going to be happening very, very soon. We were talking about this weekend, and we're itching to record the first take at it. So there we go. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. You guys make us come up with these crazy new show ideas, and it's really fun and exciting.
Yeah, and I launched my new show, Fansplaining. That dropped about a week ago with Tricky Kappa. Definitely check out the video on that one. You get a preview. If you go to Patreon, you get I think it's a 2-minute video preview. You can just check that out, or with the trial. And he's a VTuber, so it's kind of unique. He looks like, I told him he looks like Count Duckula if he had a son. And we talked all about Tricky's fantastic love of Transformers, what got him into it, what of his favorite things within the franchise are. We even talked about Rise of the Beast. And I've got episode 2 coming out, a little preview that's going now. So Donnie Reese is going to join me. We're going to talk about his love of cars, like he
Cool.
being a car fan. And it's like, what's it's all about? Because he's big into that. He does all this. I like cars, but I don't have that obsession where I actually buy classic cars, get them redone. So I want to hear all about it. And there's going to be some fun discussions about cars, real and also fictional. So that is going to come out in a couple weeks as well.
Awesome.
Sounds awesome.
Something that's probably less awesome, but I love it to pieces. I think Mark secretly loves it, but his face when we do this often doesn't reflect that. But you know what? It's a lot of fun. We always have a good time. So that's buy, rent, return. It's like going to your Blockbuster and then making a selection. Did you pick a good selection that you want to buy? You know, you get like, $10, you get to keep it. Or did you just want to just check that movie out once or that game out once? Or is it a game you made a bad decision and you're like, Mom and Dad, take this back. I want to see if I can get a refund. And that's where buy, rent, return comes in. We go to our Blockbuster and we make those decisions. And this week I picked collections. So if you talk about collections, not collector's editions, but collections as it's a disc, a cartridge, whatever, with a variety of games from a series or from a platform. And we've gotten many different versions of this over the years. So I picked 3. And I think they kind of highlight many different things. The one thing I would say is missing is Sony is missing from this list because they don't really do these very often. So that's kind of a big miss on their part. But with that, we've got some recent ones and some older ones. So we've got Super Mario 3D All-Stars. This is the Year of Mario, where apparently you can no longer get this game collection, which was the 3D Mario. So it was, I believe, Mario 64. It was Mario Sunshine and the first Mario Galaxy, all playable on your Switch, digital or on cartridge. We got Sega Genesis Classics. This is 50 of probably the only games you ever need to play on Genesis available on a cartridge or disc, available on all the systems. It's available there. It's very affordable. And they went deep into this game by doing a really cool, it's almost like you're set up in your bedroom as a kid with your old TV, the cartridge boxes. It's really well done in regards to the way they present those games. And then last is Rare Replay, which came out on Xbox One. And this was Rare basically getting 30 games from their past history. And they also did some meta games in it where you had to play so long with all the games, it would lock other games. And they even recently added, if you own this, GoldenEye to that collection. So they even made it better, and it's very cheap, and it's available on Game Pass. So those are our selections, gentlemen. So Chris, what do you choose?
Oh, I would probably buy the Sega Genesis Classics just because I know I'm a big fan. The fact that it has all the Streets of Rage games in it and Vector Man on it, I was like, cool. I'm sold there.
Yeah.
I'd probably, well, I don't know. I own Rare Replay, but I'd probably rent it, and I'd return Super Mario 3D All Stars because I'm not that big of a Mario fan. I respect it for what it's done for the industry and for the 3D platformers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I never really got into the Mario games, so sorry.
That's fair.
Sorry.
So Chris, you're making Mark cry. I can see a tear coming down his face.
I'm going to make him cry in 2 seconds.
Oh,
okay.
Gotta love it. All right. It's on like Donkey Kong, who is not in the collection. So maybe that's a sticking point too. So Mark, your choice.
Yeah, I'm going to return the Sega Genesis Classics collection because to me, and it's the exact same reason, just kind of flipped on its head. For me, the Sega Genesis games don't bring back a lot of nostalgia. I didn't play a lot of them. Vector Man, I loved. The Sonic the Hedgehog games, I loved. But, like this, and I appreciate, and for the record, I own all 3 of these. So it's buy for me. Doesn't matter. But in this little fantasy scenario that Todd makes us do, I have to, obey his laws. So I'm going to return that one. Just because that's the least amount of nostalgia that I have for one of these collections. I was a Nintendo kid growing up, still kind of a Nintendo kid at heart. And I appreciate the Sega games. I appreciate the collection. I loved playing this, but it doesn't have that same nostalgia factor. Rare Replay is going to be my rent, because however many games are on there, like the first half of it, same kind of reason, like from like Jetpack to, let's say, I don't know, Snake Rattle and Roll. Like that's kind of like Snake Rattle and Roll is kind of where I like picked up on Rare. So like there's a lot of stuff back to the 80s and I'm like, I don't care. And then like, but like Snake Rattle and Roll, Battletoads, Killer Instinct, Blast Corp. Like once you get into the N64 stuff, then it was like Rare could poop in a bucket and it would sell 10 million copies. And you get like Jet Force Gemini, which was one of my favorite games. Banjo Kazooie, Perfect Dark, hell yes. Banjo Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, which was so weird and crazy. Even like once they moved over to Xbox, you get stuff like Cameo, Perfect Dark Zero, Viva Pinata, and like like weird stuff like Banjo Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts, and that kind of stuff. And like
Is
you
it
said,
grabbed by the ghoulies on that thing?
Yes, it is.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it is grabbed by the ghoulies. It is. I just brought up a list there. Yeah. So for like Jet Force Gemini and Goldeneye alone, the Battletoads games, like that was my childhood right there. So I've got to pick that one. That was close to my buy, but I'm such a huge Mario fan that if you give me Mario 64 and Mario Galaxy in anything, that's gonna be like hitting it for me, right? Throw in Mario Sunshine and you've got a knockout. I still hate that this was like a timed limited kind of release, because why? Just why?
sorry, all those Switch owners that bought Switches like 6 months too late. You're screwed.
And I know you can play Super Mario 64 now, regardless of
Yes.
whether you have this collection or not. And I'm hoping they eventually rolled out the other two games. But this was a pretty bare bones collection, but this was like the games that I wanted. So like this and Rare Replay, I have to say Rare Replay felt weird with an Xbox controller. If Rare Replay was on the Switch, it would easily be my top choice here, because I want to play most of those games with a Super Nintendo, or more specifically,
Your N64 controller. Yes.
playing Banjo Kazooie on an Xbox controller is just broken. It does
Really?
not feel right, because Banjo Kazooie mapped a lot of the attacks and stuff to those C buttons. It didn't use it for camera. So a lot of your moves, a lot of the way that whole game was mapped and how it played was specifically based on having A, B, C, the 4 C buttons, and the bumpers. Like modern day controllers just don't have that many buttons. So then you start relying on like, hold this and press this, or hold this and tap that, or like press up on a stick, or do like just stupid shit that they have to compensate for the lack of, 6 face buttons and then all the triggers. Like it doesn't translate well. Jet Force Gemini kind of did a little bit.
They redid those controls, I believe.
And
yeah.
they redid those.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of the stuff that I'm nostalgic for doesn't play really well without an N64 controller. You can get it, and you can get that little hit of like, oh, I remember this. It just doesn't feel right. And that's what I loved about the 3D All-Stars collection, because I have a GameCube controller, I have a 64 controller, all for my Switch, and it works. So that gave it that slight edge. But the second Microsoft's like, yeah, we'll play nice. Here's Rare Replay for the Switch. Number one.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, as a collector, maybe 3D All Stars might be a good one to buy.
Right.
Yes, yeah. It's going to go through the roof, because Nintendo just. Yeah.
It's not even available digitally. I mean, if that's the thing,
Amazon, it's like they just completely pulled it. It's like, wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So weird. Todd, what about you?
So I'm gonna get a little weird here. I'm gonna buy Rare Replay because I liked the collection and the way they managed it, and I think it's one of the best collections we've seen. The documentaries, all of the extra things they did with care, and the price they launched it at, and all of the meta games they played. Like, they wanted you to play some games. And how do you get people to play like those old what is it, Amiga? I'm trying to remember the Z Spectrum or whatever they did in the UK. They had, because they didn't have the NES really in the UK. They had computers and different things. So that's a way they got people to play these games, because if you played enough, you unlocked certain things. which was cool. It was a kind of a meta game, and they loved that. And they had documentary features, they had documentation, and it was cool. It was like handling here. That's what you want with the collection. You want more than just playing those games. You want extra things to put you in that mood of, wow, this is amazing. Gave you some kind of a view of that. So that would be my buy. And counterpoint to you, Mark, I didn't own an N64, so I don't have the context that I needed that control in the way they did it. I played Banjo on the 360. It looked wonderful. It played great. I don't think I could play it with an N64 controller. So that's where I'm like glad they put the care in loving it. And they updated Jet Force Gemini as well. So I like the fact that they did all these extra things to make it like, wow, this is playable. So, and it's really cool. And once again, they added GoldenEye after the fact if you owned it. So that's like value, and they care for their audience. That's really cool. And they did a lot with that GoldenEye port as well. They didn't make you go through 25 steps to map it and make it successful. So Sega Genesis Classics would be the one I would rent, because I rented Genesis consoles and games when I was in high school because I didn't own it. So I would treat it like I treated it. I didn't ever get to play a game. So I would go into these games, play it for a little bit, and then have to take it back. So, but there's some great classics. And once again, the way they brought this collection together, the way they presented it with all of the love and care, and with 50 games, it's amazing. There's just so much there. And Sega was like the PlayStation at the time, where they were like, we're going to do everything. We're going to you like fighting games, you like football, you like all these crazy things, RPGs. It's all there. Mileage may vary whether the games are good or not, but it is, but it was still fun. And then returning Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Actually, I loaned this to a friend of ours, their young son, because he's never played these games before, so it's kind of cool he can. But I thought, I'm going to finally play Super Mario 64. I'm going to finally get into play this game. I'm like, and I hated the experience because it doesn't feel like you're playing a modern platformer. It still feels like it's struggling with some of those things. Even at the time, it was fantastic, and they use the camera as like a thing, like you're almost starring a thing. It just, for me, doesn't work at all. I just can't. So I want a remaster or a remake of that game, not a port that's prettier. And that's exactly what they did with these games. They made them prettier. They did some things so you could still use some different controls, but that's essentially what they did. They didn't add a lot of things to make this really cool and introspective. Like a Miyamoto documentary on this would be amazing, but nope. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not because these are some of the best games of all time, like Galaxy and Sunshine I love. Mm-hmm. But they needed a little more care and love, especially when they made them limited edition, like limited editions. So, because they did another collection, which if you were a subscriber to Nintendo Power, you could get the Zelda collection for GameCube. And it was so cool to get all of these Zelda games literally cheap. And if you own that disc still, it's like $600. I sold it.
Oh, you had it? Oh,
wow. I had it. It was amazing.
Did you sell it for $600, or do you have regrets?
No, Mark, it was a GameCube trade, or it was a GameStop trade, I believe.
No.
I don't know why I was like buying something else. So, well, that is it. Let us know, folks.
600 buttons from some GameStop
pocket. Exactly. Mistakes were made, folks. I'm a man of mistakes, and I learn from them. Hopefully, most times I don't. So, and Edward Varnell, he did come in and say, as you would expect, he bought the Mario collection. He was returning the Rare Replay, and he was renting the Genesis collection. He defends himself as most people do. Well, I own them all. No.
Slosh Ritter on Discord also buy Mario, rent Rare, and return Sega. Didn't give any reasonings behind it. Just dropped those and took off. So Slosh, thank you.
You ought to know, I guess, is what he's telling us. You should know why. Oh, well. Well, let us know, folks, if you have your thoughts on these. This is always a good time because we're going to talk about collections on the back end of the show in the bonus round. We're going to talk about the collections we really want and how we want them to be. So with that, though, we got to get into what we've been playing. My goodness. I think we're finally getting past the Tears of the Kingdom, like spend like 2 or 3 months. So, maybe not, as Mark would say. But we're getting more and more games as we go through this year. So hopefully we're going to get more experiences to enjoy and go from there. So with that, Chris, what have you been gaming, man?
Well, I am still working my way through Diablo 4. It is it's been a good time. Kind of a bit of a lull right now because waiting for season 1 to kick in. But in the meantime, I've actually jumped back into Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I have been having a fantastic time with that game. It's so ridiculous, and so I've always kind of been hesitant about those games, like turn-based games, and in particular these games, because they're so large and like daunting to put that kind of time into these kind of games. And I'm like, all right, but it's been I regret waiting this long to play this game. So, but now I'm playing it and having a great old time. So
I played.
Actually, sorry, Todd.
I was going to say I played that game and I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I felt like I didn't have enough. I wanted more. I wanted to do more of the battling, and I felt like I was doing more of the story and interactions and things like that. Did they balance? Is that get better balanced, or is it still heavy on the story?
Cutscenes for sure. This is like, I mean, I feel like the Yakuza games are generally like, 20 minutes of cutscenes and then maybe 10 minutes of gameplay. But I've just grown attached to the characters. The characters are well done, at least in Like a Dragon and stuff like that. And but also I forgot to write this down, but I did go back to Sifu because of you, Todd. And I saw that they added an arena mode, so I thought that was kind of cool. And go through and they even have like a decent tutorial now too. So
I heard they added an easy mode too, right?
I think they definitely added an easy mode, but I was just like, let me see how if I can knock off some of the rust and play this again and the way it's supposed to be played. And I did okay, but could be better. But this was a fun addition because I think they're slowly releasing content for that arena mode too. So
it's available on Xbox now. I'm trying to remember it because it was originally on PlayStation, kind of pseudo exclusive. And Mark, I was telling Chris, I found on Amazon on Woot, which I'm not sure if that's available in Canada or not, but Woot's been like their deal site for Amazon, and they've been doing all these gaming deals, especially in collector's editions. So I got like the Ghostbusters collector's edition, where it's Tobin's Spirit Guide for like $20. It comes with the game too, but the Sifu, I said, like Chris was into Sifu. I'm like, they've got the Sifu collector's edition. It was normally like $100. It's like $20. So it doesn't come with the game, but it's got like the statue and all this cool stuff.
Yeah, definitely grab that. So thank you for that also, Todd.
Yeah, the Cowabunga collection, if anybody wants that, is also available at a huge discount. It's like $60 now. It was $120. So if you want that game, that's where it was like, ooh, it's available. So very cool. And that we're getting like a pseudo sequel, right, with the main character, right, Chris? That game they announced at was it the Xbox showcase?
The Yakuza. Oh yeah.
Where he's hiding himself at the it's like the Austin Powers at the beach moment.
I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but excited, and hopefully I can beat the game before this one comes out. So.
Good. One more follow-up on Diablo. So you beat the game?
I did beat the campaign.
Yeah.
I am at this point, because the season starts on the 20th of July. I have to make sure I unlock all the altars of Lilith and, just like that kind of stuff. So at least that progress transfers over to my seasonal character. So.
And the season, from what I understand, you start from scratch and you have to roll a new character, right?
Yep. You do have to roll a new character. It's kind of weird, but I kind of like, I was.
Is it freeing? Is it freeing? Like you can try something new?
Yeah, you get to try something new, or you could just start over and just see. I mean, you can respec a character as is, but in a way, I understand what their philosophy was. It's like, so people can try and start, like, for people that are jumping into Diablo in the beginning of a season with like their friends that have already had characters and stuff like that, allows everyone to kind of level the playing field, so to speak, and then kind of play it together. So I'm like, okay, I can accept that. And, And especially if you have everything unlocked, it's like super easy to level up fairly quickly. So
And what was your class?
I was playing Druid.
Sweet.
Nice.
It's a pretty difficult class to use.
I was gonna say I've heard that class is like a it's a love. You really have to love the character because it's not exactly the easiest character to roll.
It's definitely a late game bloomer. So but I mean I'm starting to like get to a particular point where my spec or my particular build seems to be working, but I don't know. We'll see.
Mark, have you gone back to Diablo?
I haven't. No, I was actually talking to a coworker about it today. I really haven't been touching my Xbox much at all. Between Zelda and I'm kind of back on my classic Pokemon kick. So I'll jump into because that's all I've been playing. So this is my part of the segment, I guess. I've been really diving in finally to Tears of the Kingdom after really not finding my footing with it whatsoever. And then finally kind of talking to my brother about it, kind of hearing his stories about, especially later game. He's 240, 250 hours in, collected everything,
crap.
Going after like the last remaining armor sets kind of thing. So talking to him about it without too much spoiler stuff, but like getting into like motivations of, to play the game. And he understood when we talked about Jedi Survivor, kind of how that mentally was just kind of played on my enjoyment of Zelda. Because going into Zelda and like you start so high with Cal in Jedi Survivor that you don't get knocked back, you don't get the usual Metroid losing all your armor, your powers, this that. It's just like, here's where you were in the first game, now let's take it higher. So going back to Zelda and getting your ass handed to you and going back to 3-star or 3 hearts and like no weapons and you're naked in a cave somewhere, it's just like, oh, come on, dude, I've done this.
Frustrating, right?
I couldn't get past that. Now that I'm 15, 20 hours in or whatever I've put into it so far, I've beaten a couple of temples, explored a lot of the map, all that kind of stuff. I'm really getting into it. I've got more hearts. I've got a little bit better weapons, some more parts that I'm fusing with weapons and that kind of stuff. And I'm really getting into it. And, and then I've also, again, I've gotten back into the old school Pokemon games on the Ambernick RG35XX. So I'm playing through those and just really enjoying that. So this weekend I went out to the cottage for like the whole weekend, and my brother came out Saturday night and was just like, oh, let's see where you are with Zelda, figuring that I'd bring my Switch with me. I didn't. I just brought this like old school gamer weekend.
Let's gather around that 3-inch screen and play a game together.
And I hardly played it at all. It was such a nice
Too
weekend.
funny.
That was it. So, so I haven't been putting much time into any kind of gaming, but what I have, it's been Zelda and Pokemon. So that's it. So I do definitely intend to get back into Diablo 4.
Have you played online with anybody yet, Mark? Because I was playing with Sean and we had a blast. And because the online part is kind of sucky and obviously, Chris, you could be our Sherpa, but the leveling is kind of funky because if you're high level and I'm low level, it's not exactly great because it means that it doesn't. You play at your level and the enemies die at your level, but vice versa. But also in the mainline quest, the person who starts it gets the progress. The people that join don't. So it's like better to do the side quests together because those really don't matter. They're fun, and there's a lot of leveling up you can do through there. So Mark, I would recommend that. And if you want to, just ping me when you're ready to go in, man. I'll play with you, and I'll just be dumb and my necromancer. Which if somebody can give me a good build in a necromancer, because I feel like I'm not getting it, and I'm frustrated because I'm like, there's too many choices. And I'm like, I don't know what's good, what's bad. And I'm like, I'm making some bad decisions and I'm rolling with it and I'm dying. So I'm like, I got to be better than this. So, yeah. And Mark, I was going to ask you another thing. In Zelda, have you run into gloom hands yet?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I was like, what the hell are those things? They're scary. Why are they coming after me?
Yeah, not
Yes.
awesome. The
No,
panic
no.
attack, because I ran into them way too early.
I didn't know what they were. And like Logan's, oh yeah, those. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
So freaky.
insane.
Yeah.
Just like,
Do
what's
they
that crap over
permanently
there?
take away hearts or something?
Well, there's the gloom that can infect you. They hold you, and then once
I
you
didn't get caught by it. I just saw it. And
Oh,
was just
I
like,
did.
I don't want to
Yeah.
mess with that.
Well, and then once you beat them, then you essentially get like I don't want to spoil anything if you don't know what happens after that. But there's a surprise after, Mark, which will be like,
Oh,
really? It's not a good surprise. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's like rain on your wedding day. It's Alanis Morissette basically singing to you, telling you that song. But it's fun. And I will say this, my son being kind of my Sherpa and giving me hints and tricks and things like that has made Zelda more enjoyable along the way. Just like your brother telling you stories, I bet is someone that can tell you. It's kind of like, oh, and it's great. I think it's a collaborative game without needing to play with a second player.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, Mark, my RG35 just is still MIA. I don't know where the hell that thing is.
If you ever find it, you need to attach like an air tag or something to the back of it so you can trace it.
It's like the Ghoulies in Charlie's base or his recording area that keeps breaking up his figures. They're also stealing my handheld. So hopefully I find that eventually because I was wanting to play more with it. So there you go. So for me, everything went on hold with a game I'll be honest, I never expected this game to capture my attention. I'm like, but I'm going to try anyways because it's a big exclusive. And I've heard Final Fantasy 16 is essentially a fully brand new approach to Final Fantasy that we've never seen before. Final Fantasy, every time they have a new iteration, especially in the mainline versions, they do something different. And that has not always gone over well, but they don't hesitate to try to do new things. And 16 has been best described as Devil May Cry meets Game of Thrones. It's not a turn-based RPG. There's very little RPG about it. There's very little. There's more RPG in God of War. There's more. I mean, all these other games. And I'm like, and that works for me, but I don't know if it works for everybody else. But I love this because I would say I'm trying to say it's Devil May Cry, but meets The Witcher because it does not have like it embraces the fantasy. Monsters, demons, magic, and all this stuff like The Witcher does. And it dwells into darker things like The Witcher does. I typically say I don't like JRPGs storytelling because typically it's hammy, it's overdone, the reactions are way over. It's melodramatic when it's like a telenovela with Japanese voices, and it's like a little crazy at times. Like you're losing me. And it's just like, and even a lot of the translations, they're not localized well. It's like ultimately like this dialogue, it's like bad dialogue in a movie. Like you can write that, but having someone to say it, it's a bad idea. And it just comes off clunky. This, I don't know who localized this. This is amazing. The actors they have are fantastic. And the facial capture and the emotions and things they have in these games, it's awesome. I love this story. It's captivating me. And where I said about the Yakuza, about like how much cutscenes and everything, there's a lot of cutscenes in this game, by the way. And there's a lot of quick time elements as well. But there's also a lot of combat too. So if you like stylish action, you're going to enjoy this game because it's very fun. And they give you so many options. You do get a party with you and they can play along with you. And then you can make it as difficult as you want or as simple as you want and more storytelling focused. It's great. They've added so many abilities to make it easy to come into. And if you just want more story, you can play it that way. If you want more difficult, and reducing like the options to give it to make it like they have like a medallions you can wear that give you a heads up when you're going to get hit, which is great. They have it where you automatically apply like potions. They have another one where you can directly control your dog, which is the greatest dog in the world. His named Torgal. He's awesome. And you can pet him, you can give him love, and you can power him up with that. It's great. And it's awesome even in the parties where they show your save state. They show your parties. They're all chibi 8-bit or 16-bit, like representations of your character. It's so great. I love it. There are very dire themes in this. At one point, I'm like, I can't believe they just showed that because that's pretty heart-wrenching and very violent. So they go to places, but in a way that's very mature and well done. And I don't know how long this game is.
Mature game too, right?
It feels like it. I know they've done other things, but they've always, and it's funny because they said this is the first time Final Fantasy is like actually picked not tweens or teens that are over dramatic to be the leads. The leads are in their 30s.
Yeah.
And they play with time and mature with them, which is great. They also don't use amnesia as a main thing. So it's great. So you don't have to deal with that. And I will give a shout out to one character in particular. His name is Sid. And Sid is a character that's in almost every Final Fantasy. But the actor they got to be in this, I believe, is a Game of Thrones actor. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen before.
I believe it's the same voice actor as Lorath in Diablo 4.
I could see it. He's got a British type accent, but he's got a very iconic voice.
Yeah.
And the way he's saying the dialogue, it just comes off as so compelling versus, he's mailing it in or he's like, oh, I just got to pay the check. So I don't know what to say about this game, but it dragged me away from Diablo 4 and Tears of the Kingdom. Don't know why. I have not played a Final Fantasy game to completion since 7. And I even tried Remake, didn't grab me. So this is something for me that just is really like, wow. And I can't say enough about it. And our guest next week is also captivated. So we're probably going to go a little bit deep on this, Mark. So you may have to watch some cutscenes or something. So you're like, what's happening? But there's Moogles too. And I'm like, what the hell is a Moogle doing here? And it feels so out of context. You got this cute little guy with a thing and apparently you're the only one that can understand him. It's like the dissonance with Final Fantasy at times is like, okay, I'm just along for the ride. But the chocobos, they are badass in this game. They are like war horses. And they've got their claws, and like that could beat the crap out of someone. So they've done a great job. Now, if Catsith shows up, a weird talking cat that's like what's the Pokemon cat, Mark?
Like a Meowth?
Like a Meowth. That is Catsith. If Catsith shows up and like that, I'm like, they're on crack, but I'm sure they'll have a fun way to do it. So that is my time with Final Fantasy 16. I've probably got about 30 hours in it. I'm not sure how far I am.
So this is 6-month PlayStation exclusivity. Any announcement yet of coming to different platforms? Anything solid?
Yeah, it's going to be to PC next, I assume. Remake has been a PlayStation exclusive, and there's still no word when that will come to other platforms. And that's been out since PlayStation 4. So I don't know. And as we know, PlayStation likes to get exclusives. So I don't know if it ever will be coming there, even though Xbox has got a good relationship with Square Enix. I don't know. And Xbox could obviously outpay Sony at any point. They could put like, here's $1 billion for Final Fantasy, and PlayStation would be like, we can't afford that. And Square may even still be loyal to them because they're a Japanese company. Yeah. I don't know.
Or they might
I could see Xbox being very mean if they don't win this Activision thing.
I could too. They could probably go after. Yeah. But I mean, Square's going back with Nintendo to bring out Super Mario RPG, so maybe there's a change in tides with Square. Who knows?
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, you're gonna say something there?
Oh no, you forgot to mention like probably one of the coolest things in Final Fantasy is basically the Amazon X-ray feature. Oh.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Mark. I love this. I want this to be in every game. Yep. Tears of the Kingdom could definitely use this, where you can pause anytime, like an X-ray, Amazon X-ray, pause, you hit the main button, and it will tell you like, this is the land you're in, and these are the main characters. Here's the politics. It's almost like because it's telling you like, this is 100-hour game. You're going to forget this stuff, or you're maybe new to this, and it's telling you. I'm like, I want this for every game because, quite honestly, there's so much lore in like a Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know about the Zonai. Who knows? It's been 30, 40 years. I don't know all this stuff. So it would be great to get people more informed and get the lore in a place where it's accessible versus a conversation that's offhand. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I think it's very good. It's really well done. And it's very nice because it does kind of get deep at times, like a Game of Thrones or The Witcher. And it helps you kind of understand like, oh, who are these people and why are they doing this? And
yeah, like when I was playing the demo, I was literally just pressing it like I was like, who's this person? I just pressed the thing and it was like, oh, okay, it tells me that person and like the relationship. So it was great. Cool. Such a cool feature.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is what we've been gaming. We'll go from there, and hopefully, there's going to be no lack of games in the next couple of months, anyways. So, Mark, beat Tears of the Kingdom very soon. Is all I'll say.
Yeah, I need to finish it because I need to get into Pikmin 4 as soon as that comes out, and I really want to play Pikmin 1 and 2 over again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's yeah, I need to pause time and find more time to play things.
There's not enough. At Final Fantasy 16, after that, I'm gonna probably try to get done with Tears of the Kingdom. Although who knows how? Because I've got like 4 hearts and like 2 bars of stamina. I just want somebody to farm shrines for me. I need a kid, Mark. I really need a kid. I guess I could give it to Logan. He could do it for me, like because he's already done it before. But I mean, I need someone to do that stuff because that to me that's like the hard work. But I need it, so I want to get rid of that and just do the fun stuff. So, yeah, let Finn work on that for you. That'll go well.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'll have no weapons left. I'll be broken.
Yeah, Link will somehow lose the black arm. Like
exactly. Falls off. Falls off. Yeah. He's eating all the apples. He just sits there and eats and eats and eats. What happened to all your horses? Oh, they left.
They left.
Yeah.
Link ate so many apples and steaks. He's just a 600-pound one-armed like bokoblin running around, just like. Yeah,
he'll take you like, hey, look, Daddy, big pony, and it's a Lionel, and you're like, oh no, you can't get away from him. You're trapped in a death trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, that is what we've been gaming. Now it's the bonus round. We hinted about this in the Buy Rent Return, but we're talking about collections, and specifically the collections we want. We've been blessed to get a lot of collections, but there's still a lot of gaps of collections that might have been released consoles ago, but now aren't available digitally or physically, like we said with the Switch with Mario. So the question is, what collections we want and how do we want them? Meaning, do you just want ports, like more like the Mario collection? Do you want up-res, save states, quality of life features, documentaries, historical ads, all of those fun things that could, bring more value and get people up to speed, especially if they didn't grow up with the games at the time, that may be informing them about what this meant to people. So with that, obviously people that are listening to this, if you have examples of what you would love to see, let us know. But with that, we're going to turn to Mark and Chris. So who would like to go first on the collections they would love to have?
Oh, Chris, please take it away.
There's one, I know it's never going to happen because I think it's like in some sort of licensing hell or whatnot, but the Legacy of Kain series.
Ooh.
I would love for that to be remastered and like be the lead up to an actual sequel for Soul Reaver and all that stuff. That would be amazing. I would be so happy if they ever did that, but cool. I don't know. It's probably never going to happen though because people are terrible. But anyway, yeah, that's that.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so who even owns that? So Crystal Dynamics, Silicon Knights, they were behind that. We got Legacy of Kain on the PlayStation 1, Soul Reaver PlayStation 1, Soul Reaver 2. Was there 2?
I think so. I believe there was.
Then there was one Legacy of Kain game, a sequel with Kain.
Yes. I think
and then there was a game with both Kain and Raziel. And those are the games I'm aware of.
I'm looking.
Damn, Todd just like spewing the fountains of knowledge here.
Blood
I
Omen,
love that series.
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 2, Blood Omen 2, then Legacy of Kain, Defiance.
Defiance was a great game.
Those are the 5 games that came out.
Yes, and I assume you cannot play those probably anywhere in a modern sense.
Yeah. The last one was on an Xbox, so Xbox or PS2 or PC. So, and
Amy Hennig was behind those games. She wrote the story for I believe the first game. Dennis Dyack, who is the guy behind Silicon Knights, who's kind of crazy. He was behind those games too, and they partnered. And at this point, I'm not sure who owns that, but that's one of those things. It's like, I think they owned by the Embracer Group?
Yes. Yep. In May 2022, Embracer Group acquired Legacy of Kain.
So Embracer Group needs a lot of money, so I could see them getting behind some type of collection remasters or something.
I hope so.
Yeah, if they own the
That'd be
whole
awesome.
series, like realistically, could be a solid move.
That'd be awesome. That would be. I would be so happy if they did that.
Yeah, just make them playable, modern little. I mean, and then how do you want them? Do you want them just the ports, or do you want them to give a little more TLC?
Definitely some TLC. I mean, you play those, like you see those games now that they're definitely aged. Like you know how like the Diablo 2 remaster was supposed to be very good. Like for the old Legacy of Kain games, do something like that, upres or and all that for those series. But like for the Soul Reaver stuff, the 3D platforming, like I feel like you got to make that look pretty. Like make it look like the cutscenes back in the. Although even those cutscenes now look probably not great, but but like go up a little higher in terms of fidelity. And yeah, I'd be so down for that. Take my money, Embracer Group. That's what I say.
How much money? No, just kidding. They'll take any money they can get. After that Gollum game didn't do well.
Man.
Mark, what's your first choice? We can do a round robin if you got more, but Mark, what's your choice?
Yeah, I do have a couple. I'm gonna go with my first one. I'm gonna swing for the fences here because this is something that I don't think they will ever do, but it would be such a great collection just for the memes alone. Nintendo could make fun of itself. They could embrace some failure, and I think the internet would jump onto it. Release the Virtual Boy collection.
Oh, like an NSO, or are you talking like just a boxed collection?
Either or, whatever you want to do. It's 22 games or something stupid like that. Like that's it. Like that's the entire library of the system. 22 games total, according to the Wikipedia page I'm looking at right now. Release them. I want this in like all its red, ugly glory. I want it to like just be what it is. I don't know. Never mind. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that. But so I.
What is that? My goodness.
I know. Okay, I know someone who has done some stuff and wanted to do a remake or kind of a remaster of that of one of the games for the
Quest?
3DS.
Oh, for 3DS. Oh, okay. Because I think you're like I was thinking you'd go like somebody wants to do it in Quest. I'm like that makes a lot of sense.
Quest would be great. No, this was back in the day a while ago, and someone kind of I can't remember if they said they had a functional demo or something, but it's someone I know that does game stuff that it's just like, yeah, the Virtual Boy was weird and quirky, and I'd love to see like a little bit of love. So I think it was Wario Land that they were working on and trying to kind of like let's do the the Sega remake collection or whatever it was, the 3D collection from Sega, and it was like, hey, can we like get a license for this and just kind of release it and whatever, and it kind of didn't go anywhere. I hope I'm sure that's fine. I was pretty vague.
They can't find you, Mark. They can't find you. You're in Canada.
So hidden.
Yeah.
That's it. So I just think, yeah, that like there's such weird games. Like you have, like I said, Wario Land, but then you have like Waterworld on there.
Wow.
Virtual bowling, like Tetris. There's like just Mario Tennis. Like there's just some weird stuff there that I think you could make, like I said, just a meme-worthy collection of like, hey, remember our biggest failure? Now we do too. And here's the 22 duds that we put out on that thing. And like, I would buy that in a box collection purely for the memes, purely for that Instagram post of like, look at this dumb thing. Like that would be it. Take my money, Nintendo. Here's my Instagram picture. I'm happy. Like and I'd going a little bit further, I would love them. And this is not Nintendo at all. Like, I think if they did do this, it'd just be like, oh, here's the ROMs dumped on a cartridge. Have a fun day. I would love like a documentary
Yeah.
of how this came to be, how it failed, the hype up. Were they? And I'd love it like a new documentary that no one's ever seen. Like, hire some YouTuber or something to do it, because there's enough YouTubers that do really good video game stuff. But get someone to tell like the real story behind it. Like, were they too early? Now we see virtual reality take off, and like Apple getting into the AR space and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, was Nintendo just whatever 30 years too early or whatever dumb thing that, like why were some of the choices made? Why was it, like rushed through R&D seemingly because it started giving people headaches? Like, did they not notice that? Like, what I want to hear the history of it and really dive into that in a respectful way. Cause I don't think Nintendo would make fun of themselves that much, but I think Nintendo's social accounts could really have some fun with it and just kind of like, who doesn't love red? Here you go. Or like, just
they'll have you seeing red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Mark.
Now,
Yeah.
Oh, God, Chris.
Sorry. Question. Would you buy like how they had the mini NES or the mini Super Nintendo, a mini Virtual Boy like that?
Oh, that'd be expensive.
I would, if it was quality enough and improved enough that it, didn't wreck my eyesight, didn't give me headaches instantly. Like, if it was, I don't know how they do that. I think you could do that with a modern screen that has, I love virtual reality. I love that there's a screen an inch away from my eyes, and it's good. Could they do a more modern screen with that and just, whatever, 10 times the resolution? So you're not, like, it could still look kind of like this thing does, right? Like the screen in this thing is whatever.
Is 8 times better than what was on the Virtual Boy.
8 times better than what was on but like this is so much better than even what was on like this, let's say the Game Boy Advance. But the ROMs and the emulators are so good that they kind of like do pixel double, and it looks kind of like how you remember, but more crisp. And so if they could do something like that, I'd be all on board.
Mark, I have a solution for you. It's seeing us right in the face, especially when you put it on your head with cardboard, and then as Labo. It should have been a Labo. Make a stand out of cardboard. Have it like with the face. It was right in our face, and we didn't see it, and it was going to be in red.
I like
Mark.
That's brilliant. Like I'm 100%.
How many Labo would they have sold if they did that? Literally like 10 million, because there's 10 million people that would 10 more. Yes, 10 and more. I mean,
yeah,
it makes no sense. And they could have used like the garage. What was the Garage Game Builder or the Labo game? People could have made games for Virtual Boy in it.
Yeah,
that would have been kind of cool. I don't know.
Very.
They missed opportunity, Nintendo. You know what?
Those options, whether it's a classic, like full blown, like here's a collector's item, right? That looks like the original and that, or just have some fun with it. Yeah. Make it out of cardboard, build it yourself, build a game for it. Like, be wacky. I could see both of those working, or I could see it just literally, here's a collection for Switch.
Yeah.
Enjoy the redness on your 4K TV.
And so it's the one that we already pay for. It's like, not like you're unsubscribe. And I mean, all those people that have been holding out for the Virtual Boy, here you go. I guess it's my turn to make my first pick. And it's kind of weird because we're not in this era anymore, but there were so many awesome sport arcade games. And they largely, I think they have like, you have to buy those like arcade 1-up systems now to get like NFL Blitz. There was NHL Hits. There was a MLB game, NBA Jam. And what else am I missing? There's been a bunch of them, but I mean, literally, that's a bygone era. I mean, you do get things like blood hockey is a new game, which we liked a lot. So they're getting some forms of those, but we aren't getting like even like NFL Street, NBA Street, all those games. I want those back. I mean, I heard Colin Kaepernick is getting like an arcade football game, but it's like not licensed because the NFL wants nothing to do with them, which is sad. But I want a collection of those games, and I don't know how they do it. That's why I own my Xbox 360, so I can play NBA, NFL Blitz. And those games were so big at the time. NBA, what they have? NBA, what was that game? The series that was on the Switch for a couple of years.
NBA Jam.
Well, no, it was after that. NBA, was it Playground? Not Playground. Was it Playground?
Yeah, NBA Playground. Right. That sounds about right.
It just never captured like the imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody
that NBA Jam feel, right?
Yeah, everybody wants to be like the code with like Bill Clinton, right? Or they want the big head mode. They want that stuff. Or they want to play NBA Street with like Mario going against, I don't know who's in the NBA at the time, Kobe maybe. I mean, we want those games. Even like the stupid. I mean, if they make it like just an all sports compilation, put in what was the snowboarding game that was big?
SSX.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, those games were amazing, and that's just the PlayStation 2, like Xbox era, GameCube era, and it's like
EA was doing like some great sports games.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
Fight Night. Remember Fight Night?
Oh, Fight Night was amazing. And remember the Xbox 360 Fight Night where they showed the guy's hand going into his face and his like cheek deforming and melting. Oh, yeah. But I want that. And I don't know if they could do it like bring in like the announcers of those games, because that was always one of the best parts, like, boom shakalaka, and have them kind of give a documentary about it, how they came up with this, how did it happen, how to get the rights, how did they choose the characters, because Michael Jordan wasn't in those games. Michael Jordan just didn't show up. He doesn't want to do that. He makes NBA. Was it Michael Jordan in the Windy City where he threw a basketball at people? That was like the extent of his gaming. So dumb. Or Charles Barkley shut up in Jam or whatever it was.
Griffey Jr.'s Major League Baseball, where he's the only real person in the entire game.
Exactly. Here's, so I mean, obviously we've got like technobable things like, but I really want a cool sports arcade collection. And I would love it if it was just like, because I think Midway did most of those games. So just whoever owns Midway, I don't know who owns Midway at this point, but just buy Midway. Xbox, buy Midway. I don't know. I mean, who cares? Embracer Group, actually, they probably own them at this point. They own everybody else. And I just want that. And I just want it to be fun. And if there was a way to like update rosters, that'd be even better. But I know that's probably not going to happen. But you know what? Rather than that, put in like serial mascot characters as the playable characters. I'd be happy. Tony the Tiger taking down Lucky the Leprechaun. I'm all in.
That would be amazing.
Like your Grimace arcade, Mark. Mark, did you see the Grimace cart box somebody made for the Game Boy Color for the Grimace game?
No.
I tagged you on it on Twitter. Check it out. It's great.
Shoot, I haven't been checking Twitter since Threads.
I know you've been on Threads. Yes, yes, I know.
I'll check Twitter.
It's funny. Yeah, it's pretty funny. They made an actual Game Boy Color box for the game. So that's what I want. And I would, like I said, I want all the bells and whistles. I don't care if it gets updated graphically wise, because that's kind of fun at the era. Everything's blocky and pixely. I'm cool with that. I just want it to be able to play in a modern lens.
Cool. I like that answer.
Chris, back to you. Do you have another one?
I would love a collection of the Beautiful Joe series.
Yes.
So remind me which games, because I played the first one, but I know there was more than that.
There's apparently there was 4 games. I didn't realize that. There's Beautiful Joe, Beautiful Joe 2, and then there's Beautiful Joe, Red Hot Rumble, and Double Trouble. I don't know. I don't know if those actually ever came out, but it says they did.
Wasn't one of them for the 3DS or the DS?
The last Double Trouble was for DS.
Okay.
So
that was part of like what Capcom's, what was it? It was like all those games Capcom made for the GameCube. It was like their big thing. Beautiful Joe and Dino Crisis or whatever, 3 or whatever. Oh yeah. I love Beautiful Joe. So good.
But to be able to do that for, for the more modern consoles and stuff like that. Oh, like it looks so. I mean, it looked good for the time, and then for them to like up-res this and like do some like crazy stuff, like I'd love to see that again. I'd love to see that.
That'd be amazing.
Does Capcom own those, or is it like Platinum or Clover or?
Clover was the one that developed it.
I think Capcom owns it.
But yeah, maybe Capcom. I don't know.
Make it happen, Capcom.
Capcom's too busy making Resident Evil 4 for like the 400th time, though.
Or Exoprimal with dinosaurs dropping from clouds and you have to kill them.
It's like, come on.
It's so weird. Yeah, they ignore certain franchises. Like at their investor call, someone actually brought up Mega Man. Like, hey, Capcom, are you going to ignore Mega Man still? Like, what? Bring back Mega Man.
Hey, after the success of the Mario movie, the Sonic movie, all this nostalgia, all these other companies are making money hand over fist. You guys going to bring back your super popular mascot from the exact same era?
Right.
Who's had how many successes has he had? I think that even that one collection that talking about collections that was it the Mega Man what's that series that was on the GBA that was really popular?
Battle Network.
Yeah, that collection came out and it sold like 1 million copies. I mean, talk about like there's an audience for Mega Man, and
Yep.
Come back, make them happy. Like someone said, basically just make a not a Jack and Dexter, a Ratchet and Clank style game with Mega Man. That would be amazing. Yeah. All right, Mark. Round 2.
I'm trying to decide between 2 because I don't know if we're going to have a round 3. So, you know what? Both of mine are games that are inspired by what I've been playing recently. I'd love either a Pokemon collection or a Zelda collection. For both, I'm going base 3D games. So for Pokemon, it'd be like red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, and like probably ruby, sapphire, emerald, like just those, like the 3 first entries of the series up to GBA. You could maybe throw in fire, red, leaf, green if you wanted to get a little whimsical with it. But since they're essentially the same games as like red and blue, then, you could really just have like those 3 generational games. I'd honestly even be happy with like a red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal collection, or even like red, blue, gold, silver. Like that would just be pretty crazy. There's some documentaries about it if you want to like find out about the development of that, because the development specifically of like gold and silver is absolutely insane. Where like they basically wrote the first game into it, and who was that from Nintendo? Iwata, maybe, I think like did that in his free time.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
No one else knew how to do it. And he was just like, yeah, I can do this. I'm just going to build the first game into this new game, even though the first game took up the entire cartridge. And this new one's bigger somehow. Like it just like broke the matrix to make this thing. Like it's just wild. So I'd love that kind of thing. And then same kind of deal for the Zelda collection. Like Todd said, we've had a Zelda collection before, but it's kind of a mismatch. So of like, like you'll get like Wind Waker or something, or like, Ocarina mixed with like Link to the Past or something. Like I just want the best of like top down or, early Zelda games. So like Zelda 2, Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, DX, Oracle of Ages and Seasons, and then Minish Cap to cap it all off. I think that'd be pretty sick. So
you're gonna skip those DS games, Mark?
The what now?
What is but the Oracle of Ages, the Oracles of Seasons, the Minish Cap, you'd want all of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The Game Boy Advance games. I think once you get into, and that I skipped the DS on my Pokemon collection too. Because I just like I don't want the 3D stuff. Like I love those collections too. Like you can make the Pokemon collection 2, the Zelda collection 2, and start with the DS. That's fine. But for these ones, I want like 8 to 16-bit, go up to GBA.
Got it. So kind of like the Final Fantasy? Was it the Pixel remasters? They just did that with Square. And I'll put it to you this, Mark. What about 2D HD? versions, those Live Alive, all of those things where they've said we're going to really play with the visual style and make it like immersive, but still keep the heart of it. And I'm like, those are amazing when they do that. It just blows me away that those games look so cool.
I want Pokemon remakes, but I don't think this would be a collection because it's Pokemon. I want Pokemon remakes in what's that? Oh shoot, what's that game called? That has like the really cool 2D, 3D art style RPG.
Well, there's. Are you talking about like the Live Alive and Octopath?
More like Octopath, yeah. That kind of that art style for a Pokemon game. Damn, do Pokemon Red and Blue remake in that style, or Gold and Silver, since I haven't been since when was that remade? DS, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That was a
probably
DS, right?
Yeah.
I have them all, so I just can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, that wasn't 3D.
Mark, have you caught them all? Did they escape?
I have.
Are they breeding in the wild?
Definitely. Yeah, I think either of those collections, I'd really like that, especially Pokemon, because it's so hard to play a lot of those older games on new hardware unless you have something like not super legal, like I have. And even when you have something like this, it doesn't integrate to Pokemon Home.
No.
So that's a pain in the butt.
You'd almost have to like find a way to break the ROM or something like that.
Yeah. So I'd love these collections. If you don't do anything to change it, you don't include documentaries, you don't include anything, let me take Pokemon from Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Red and Crystal or whatever and fire those to Pokemon Home. That is it. Like, base collections, take my money. Here you go. That would be fantastic.
Very cool. Okay. Myself, I've probably brought up the series before. I don't know how this would happen, but going back to Capcom, there's a series of games called Onimusha that started in the PS2 era. They are renowned because they used like actors that you knew, either Japanese or John Reno, yeah. And then it's like, for some reason, you were going to take an actor and put them in like, that's a bad idea because now you have to pay that actor, or if he dies, you have to go deal with his estate. But those games were awesome. It was Resident Evil with zombies. In a samurai era with demons. It was amazing. They did do a really crappy like HD remasters. What they said, they didn't do anything at all with that game. It was really disappointing, especially considering what they were doing with Resident Evil. I think you could say with like Capcom with a lot of their series, like I know a lot of people want Dino Crisis, and there's a lot of other games that they could go back to. But Onimusha, I think, would be fantastic, especially after seeing Ghost of Tsushima and what they did with that. And when I saw that new Capcom game that they showed at, I think, the Xbox showcase, where it was like this, I'm like, oh, we're getting Onimusha? No, we're not, Todd. Just go away. I'm like, oh, slap to the face. But I think that could work really well. I think they could just replace those actors with just generic people and really bring that game up to speed like they did with the RE remasters. And I would take like up-reses or simplified versions of those that have quality of life just to play those games again, because they had some of the best cutscenes I've ever seen in games. And to make those look beautiful, up-res, because a lot of the games back in the day actually were done at a higher resolution than they were actually supported basis the TV technology and what they could do. A lot of Nintendo games are like that too. It's like they're actually better. The assets are so much better than what they could do. So it's very easy for them to take those assets. So I would say Onimusha would love a collection with that. I think it would be fantastic. And I think it really works with Capcom. So Capcom is just, I think they just have too many things to do and not enough assets to do it with but of course they're making Exoprimal. So I don't know. Oh, well.
I want that to be your ongoing joke for everything.
Exoprimal?
Exoprimal.
Yeah.
I love it. I can bring that back.
Got pushed back, but Exoprimal's still being developed. So I just want that to be like a running gag for you.
It'll be like 3 years later. What is Todd talking about? And nobody remembers that game. Or it's a joke's on everyone else. Exoprimal is the biggest game in the world. We're on Exoprimal 2. Oh, my goodness.
It was all because of Todd.
That's an even better joke. Yeah, you're like, look how Exoprimal turned out. I don't even know, man. I think, yeah.
We're getting like an animated movie. We're getting like all these celebrities. Vin Diesel's in it in the sequel.
Of course,
Love it.
Of course, why not?
Yeah,
He's in
absolutely.
Ark. He's in the new Ark game, right? Ark Survival.
As far as we know, that game really probably doesn't even exist, right? It's actually Fast and Furious back to the past, right?
Right. Yep.
They're riding dinosaurs instead of cars.
That's
Family.
Fast and the Furious 10 Part 3.
Right.
Let's get prehistoric.
Yeah.
Any seconds or thirds? I guess we're on thirds. Any third courses?
I've one more real quick, and that
Absolutely.
is Bushido Blade. That
Oh,
game
yeah.
needs a freaking remake or remaster.
That's like a Souls game before Souls exist.
Yeah, I mean,
One
it was
hit
still
kill.
Like it was a fighting game,
Yeah.
but like, one hit kill. It was just, man, it was such a cool game, and like, there's nothing has done the same thing. I remember there was a Steam game that was like somewhat similar, but in a different. It was more like this had a story, right? Like when you follow your character, and it was just like so awesome. Like if you get wounded in like in one battle, you're still wounded in the next one, and you just kind of keep going through it. Oh, it was, I don't know. I want that again. I want that again.
So that'd be Bushido Blade 1, 2, and Kingo for the collection.
I guess. I don't know. One and two.
Game for collection. It's a collection of one.
But yeah, at least 1 and 2.
Okay.
But yeah,
We'll allow it. 2-game collection.
yeah.
Maybe with some
or and then sneak in a like a documentary about it too.
absolutely kind of like a history of that fighting style. Maybe add in a movie of the of that era with the samurai. That'd be very cool. My goodness. Well, there we go. I think that is it for the show, folks. If you have a collection in mind, games that you just can't play, but you think that deserve to be played by us in a cool and new way on our modern consoles, we'd love to hear about it. So with that, Chris, thank you for joining us today. We're actually short. This is like one of the shortest episodes we've ever done. Oh my goodness. Not because it wasn't good, it was because we're actually focused, which is new for me.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on because it's always a blast talking about games with you fine folks. So yeah. And hopefully all of our wishes for these collections come true, and we can get to play them. So
We just got to pray to Kirby, make it happen. Our
Pray to
dark
Kirby,
deity
that's
in the sky. So Chris, tell people where they can find you around the webs.
yeah, you can find me on Twitter, roaming there every once in a while at TC1H1D. Our podcast is on most podcasting platforms. We post our videos as well on the Quit the Build network, and youtube.com/Quit the Build. And yeah, there. I think I'm on Threads too. So there's that. There's that as well. At TC1H1D over there as well. And if you want to have a conversation about games or anything geek related, I'm happy to oblige. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you,
Mark,
man.
tell people where they can find you.
As I alluded to earlier, I have not checked Twitter in a bit. I have kind of moved my focus over to Instagram and Threads, so you can find me, but you can still find me on Twitter and tag me and maybe remind me to look at it like Todd just did. Anywhere you're looking for me, I'm at _Canardian. So I make it very simple for you to find me everywhere.
Very, very cool. And I'm still on Twitter, working on Threads. I am not a very complicated man, so sometimes I struggle with all of the different social medias. But yeah, I would love to see people over there. I can't even remember what my and we set up one at Secret Friends Unite as well. We're trying to work on that one too on Threads as well to get there, because as of right now, I need to engage with some folks, because as of right now, I've just got like the main feed of everybody, and Kim Kardashian has showed up to the party, and I'm like, I don't want that. Meek Mill, I'm like, Meek Mill, sure. So I just need a way to, because right now Threads needs some help with having like a follow tab, and they need a way. They need some help, but you know what? If we're gonna get like the final battle between Elon and Zuck, and they both can find a way to be better, hopefully this is what Threads will achieve in the social media network. But yeah, Teoxtra is, I believe, both my places. You can find me there. And once again, check out our Patreon, Secret Friends Unite, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Check it out. Check it out for your trial and enjoy the stuff we're doing. We're having a lot of fun there. And I'm also putting out our Patreon stuff that we release on our website as well. So you can check it out there at secretfriendsunite.com. So that is it for our show. Hopefully you enjoyed the journey. And if we did not get to your comment today, which Famous Seamus, I just posted, he just posted, thank you, Famous. We'll get to you on the next episode. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mark. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.